Welcome to your June update for the score to Encounters Shattered Wastes. Today I'm sharing with you a little bit of my progress on the theme for the Sunken Beasts. So this enemy is a sea creature of some kind, and immediately my mind went a couple of different places. I went to sea chanties, right? If you're not familiar with the form, feel free to look it up. But essentially, it's a very like singy-songy. The idea of like, people on a ship working and singing songs, that kind of feel. But also the idea to use 6/8 time. In a lot of modern music, most of the time things are in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom, cut, right? That type of feel, either sped up or slow down. 6/8 is a little bit of a different feel. You have two major beats, and each of those are divided by 3. So we have this boom, 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 dun, 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 boom, 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 dun, dun, dun. It's not quite a waltz, which would be dun, 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 which, it's 3 times 2. It's a little bit of a different feel the way that 6/8 is performed versus 3/4. But anyway, a couple of concepts came to mind when it came to instrumentation. I talked to you about sea chances already, but also the idea of, if you've never seen the movie, I believe it's called Master and Commander. There's this whole sequence where the two officers on the ship are having basically like a dual, solo violin and solo cello. So I kind of introduced that kind of concept in here. I'm toying around with it just a little bit. So you hear that in the opening, as well as a little bit of harpsichord. I don't know why harpsichord makes me think of the sea. It must be just kind of like, it's a very bright and crisp. It just shows up for a little bit. You kind of see where it works then. And then what I end up doing is transforming here and moving into a different section where things start to pick up intensity just a little bit. You'll start hearing some 16th notes underneath from a marimba. Now, for me, the sound of a marimba equals like bubbles in the ocean. So we start getting this kind of motion. And when I was talking to my wife about, while I was writing this, that sound makes me think of churning, like the churning of a sea. Maybe I kind of imagining the sunken beast inside of water and pulling our heroes, try to pull them into water. Maybe the sunken beast itself can create water and is making like whirlpools. I don't know. Putting some mental lore for myself into it, but that made me really, really excited. And then the last section, you'll hear this little flute interlude that kind of drops us into this new section that has a little bit of a different feel, and that's because I've changed musical modes. What does that mean? So you may be familiar with the idea of major and minor. It's a pretty common idea. We'll go ahead and just take a listen here. Here is an A major chord. It sounds very happy. And minor. That's a dark sound. Now, what I'm using here is what's called a Phrygian. I end up taking the second note of the scale and lowering it. And what this does musically is that it creates this pool from that note back down to A. And what I'm trying to musically represent is the idea of the sunken beast being able to pull people underwater, or pulling people into its maw with the tentacles. And just it came as just a very maybe it's a little bit on the nose concept of how to represent the idea of pulling somebody under, but I think it really works. I'll show you the difference between natural minor and harmonic minor. Here's natural minor. Harmonic minor. See, in harmonic minor, that 7th note ends up getting raised, which creates a musical pool to that last note, to the A again. But here's that Phrygian. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from A to A, which is a scale, and I'm going to go up one more to that B flat. And normally in a scale, it musically wants to continue moving forward, but this one's actually going to want to pull back. You go ahead and take a listen to that. and then it pulls back down to A. So again, representing that that pull down. So let's go ahead and take a listen to my work so far on the theme for the Sunken Beast. If you have any feedback, comments, or questions, feel free to put them down below. And if you need any music for an upcoming project, feel free to go to dionmorales.com.